Hello everybody, welcome back to 10 Minute Reviews. I'm Jason, the whiny one here is Freya, the fuzzy whiny one. What?
And I'm Amy.
And we're bringing you today's video. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons. Come here, Freya. Ooh, don't step on that. I need that, baby. And please hit the like and subscribe buttons. And today we are going to do another one of our lists, and we're going to kind of cross the genres again. We always talk about books, we always talk about authors, and we're going to continue doing so because it's our biggest passion. But we want to combine it with some of our other passions. So today we want to talk about 5 great TV show adaptations of books, not TV movie adaptations. That we consider TV movies just movies, so those aren't our movie adaptations of books. TV shows adapted from books. Now, remember, we're talking about entertainment value primarily. We do give some weight to how much it followed the source material, but that's generally not the be-all and end-all. It can diverge entirely from the source material. If it's still great, then it's still great. So, first off, The Wheel of Time. The Wheel of Time, I'll be honest with you, this makes my list of really, really good TV show adaptations of a book for the simple fact that I loved the TV show, watched the entire first season. We binged the entire first season very, very quickly, and I freaking hated the books. Yes, I get that is a controversial thing. That there's a lot of fantasy fans that think Wheel of Time is one of the greatest fantasy series ever written, or in their top 10 and all that, and I get it. And I'm sure it is. I'm friends with a couple of them, and I'm sure it is. And I'm sure it's a great series. It just wasn't for me. The first book, and they all tell me the same thing. Oh, once you get past the first book, it gets better. If I have to drudge my way through a book to get to the next one, I'm just not going to. Yeah, and I don't need to read 10 pages of describing shearing a sheep. It's not my thing. No. So the books, they didn't do it for me. I'm not saying it's a bad series, not at all. It's a great series. If you're a fantasy fan, go read it. I can't argue with all the other hundreds of people that say, hundreds of thousands of people that say it's a great series. Wasn't for me. The TV show, however, was for me. That was a fantastic, fantastic, fantastic show.
Yes.
I do understand that it did diverge slightly from the source material, but it was great. Now, the next one is interesting because based off of books, but most people tend to actually think of it based off a video game, The Witcher.
Yes.
Witcher, absolutely fantastic TV show. It was great. A little bit confusing for some people the first season because there's a lot of time jumps. They don't actually explain that it's a time jump back and forth. So eventually you figure it out, in theory, hopefully. Some people, it took them the entire season. So it could be very, very, very confusing. The second season, it was linear. But the first season was definitely, you could not tell between one episode and the other the fact that you're back and forth hundreds of years sometimes. Overall, though, I thought Witcher was a fantastic, fantastic, fantastic series. Great series. They were attempting to capture the Game of Thrones fan base and crowd, which they did. Ish. And the thing is, the sad thing is that Game of Thrones is very much a cultural phenomenon. The Witcher is not.
And I genuinely think The Witcher is far superior to Game of Thrones.
100% agree. 100%
But I don't like George R. R. Martin.
But what's the name of the author that wrote The Witcher?
Andre, insert really hard to pronounce Eastern European name.
And the thing is, I think The Witcher's a better show. I will say that possibly Game of Thrones may have ruined it with their final season to drop them down a notch or two. I try and stay away from the author side of it as far as how good these shows are because I honestly don't think George R. R. Martin's all that great of an author either. And all those people out there that are oh, Game of Thrones is phenomenal and Song of Ice and Fire, 99% of those huge Game of Thrones fans out there never read a single one of the books before the TV show. And yet they will sit there and they will get on their soapbox about those books. I read all the books before the TV show ever came out.
So did I.
And disliked them more every book. It started out pretty good.
Yeah.
Good enough for me to read
the books were great.
The first 2 or 3, yeah. The first 2 for sure. Good enough for me to read the second. Second one, good enough for me to read the third. Third one, man, I'm already invested this far. I might as well read the fourth.
Yeah.
And it just they just went downhill to me. But the TV shows themselves, absolutely phenomenal.
Not to mention having to wait so many years in between. that really kills a series, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. So that leads into the third show that we're going to talk about, Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones, which was absolutely fantastic show. It was great. The final season definitely fell off, and I think it fell off for a couple of different reasons. You know, the big thing of the fact that he hadn't written the ending yet, I don't consider that a big deal because honestly, I don't think he ever will. I think he's going to milk this as much as he can, and he has even talked. He's George R. R. Martin's kind of a jerk. He's even basically told fans like, "Stop complaining. I will write whenever I feel like writing," because he's trying to make all this money off of TV adaptations and spin-offs and all that. That the majority of George R. R. Martin's time right now is spent schmoozing with Hollywood and trying to make more money off of that instead of writing the books. And as is, he puts these huge time period gaps between the books, and the last book was a freaking filler. You could read the first chapter and the last chapter, and you discover that all the characters are basically in the same place they were.
Yep.
From the beginning to the end. If they started out wandering through the woods, they finish wandering through the woods. If they started out, scrambling to survive in a town, they finished scrambling to survive in a town. Everything in between was just filler. So the books, not a huge fan. The TV show was an absolutely fantastic show. It had some actors or actresses that I'm somewhat of a fan of.
Emilia Clarke.
Maybe.
Jason Momoa.
And the Dragons. Oh yeah, Jason Momoa was in it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So husband and wife, our favorite actors and actresses with a husband and wife in there. So and plus the Dragons, of course. So yeah, Game of Thrones, absolutely fantastic. Next one she's going to talk about, Mindhunters. Mindhunters is based off books.
Yep. It's based on FBI files. The only one that I've read that I can really talk about, that I've read several times, was on Edmund Kemper.
But what about the show?
The show just goes through the FBI's interviewing the criminals and how their investigate. I don't know why I couldn't think of that word. Their investigation, how they caught him, and really delving into the mind of how profilers work, how they built their profiles, how they use that profile to find these people, and really shed a light on what the FBI profilers do.
Fascinating show. It's weird for us because as much as we read nonfiction. Don't get us wrong. We definitely read nonfiction.
Read a lot of nonfiction.
True crime primarily and mob stuff. I would not say, compared to most people, we read a lot of nonfiction. As far as within our particular reading, I would not say we read a lot of nonfiction. I really wouldn't, because we primarily read fiction. And yet, when it comes to TV, even though we have quite a few shows that we watch, I would say 90% of the TV, when the TV is on in our house, it's true crime. So Mindhunters is pretty much, right there within our wheelhouse. It is a really good show, especially if you like true crime. The final one that we want to talk about today, that in my opinion, of the shows we're talking about today, is the best. And also looking at the books these are based off of, the best books, Reacher. The movies would make it into my bottom, but the TV show, the new TV show with Alan Ritchson, is absolutely incredible. And I want to talk about true to the book, and that's the advantage to shows that are to TV shows based on a book. You can't take a 500-page book and very easily compress it into an hour-and-a-half long movie, but you can take a 500-page book or a 350-page book and put it into an 45-minute episode TV series without having to sacrifice much of your source material, if any. Sometimes they may even have to add some, depending on how it's filmed and the book and all. And Reacher, the first season of Reacher is based off of the first book, The Killing Floor, which I own and actually have signed by the author. I think I have his first 10 or 12 books signed by the author. And we cannot recommend Reacher strongly enough.
Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic.
Incredible book. An incredible TV show. Incredible TV show. I'm not sure if she's read The Killing Floor.
I did.
Okay. But
Right after we watched Reacher.
so she read it afterwards.
Yeah.
So every subsequent season, it's already been approved for season 2. Every subsequent season will be based off of different books. And yes, the season did diverge from the books. The character of Neely does not show up in Killing Floor. Might get a mention, but does not show up in Killing Floor. But super popular character eventually in the series. So luckily they brought her into it. So I hope you guys find this interesting, amusing, enlightening. Give you some suggestions of what to read or what to watch, or what to watch and then read, or read and then watch, or just read while you're watching. Thank you everybody for tuning in.
We'll see you next time.
And we will catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye now.